Okay, so yes, we're running a little bit late, but we're here. Let's talk about the grand finals of PGL Cluj-Napoca, as well as a footnote about this third place decider match. We had an epic best of 5 set between MOUZ and Falcons, and at the end of it all, MOUZ, in their first real event with Siuhy on the bench and Spinks in the lineup, they managed to claim the title. So is this the ultimate honeymoon? Is MOUZ somehow going to be a threat from here on? And just how close were the Falcons to taking it home themselves? Apologies for the morning sumptuous deep voice, I am just waking up. I'm sure you'll hear it change over the course of this recording, but we're recording this on the Monday after the grand finals, so we have to make do with what we got. My name is LionHeartZ, welcome back to the channel. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as it helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for joining me during the co-streams throughout the playoff weekend. It was a lot of fun. Make sure you go follow me over on twitch.tv/LionHeartZS2, as we're almost at 500 followers over there, and I'd really appreciate it. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor.
That's right, this video is sponsored by Skin Club. They're one of the most popular case opening sites in the scene with over 100 custom cases backed by their provably fair system. You can open cases individually or wager your winnings against other users in case battles, either with players around the world or privately with bots if you want to avoid being smurfed outside of Premiere as well. But wait, there's more. Skin Club runs monthly events with free rewards to earn, free daily cases, and if you don't like what you earned, you can always go for a cheeky little upgrade to get something you do. If you want to play on Skin Club, you can do so at the top link in the description down below and get a 7% deposit bonus when you top off your account with credit card, crypto, or the 5,000 Peach 50 sand dunes in your inventory. Please gamble responsibly and only do so if you are over 18 and live in a country or jurisdiction that doesn't restrict gambling. Gambling can be an addiction, and you should never gamble for the purposes of making profit. Only wager what you are comfortable losing. If you or a loved one are suffering from gambling addiction in the US or Canada, you can reach out to 1-800-GAMBLER toll-free to get help. I want you to be safe and healthy always, so seek help if you need it. And thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring this video.
Okay, so, first things first, I totally forgot or just didn't really read through the format for PGL Cluj-Napoca because I had no idea this third place decider game was going to happen until I woke up in the morning and saw that Astralis and FaZe were locked in a torture chamber on Mirage in overtime 500. Now, I fully understand the validity of doing something like this with the VRS system, because in theory every placement matters so much more than it did previously. So the idea of splitting third and fourth place into individual placements and having those teams duel it out is interesting. My only issue, I guess, at least this time around, is that it's always going to feel weird to have this game before the grand finals, because the playoffs really do nicely in building momentum up to that final game. And in reality, this game doesn't ultimately change much. It's just for prize money and points. It's not like these teams are competing to continue to advance in the tournament. These are the two teams that failed in the semis the day before. So for me as like a viewer, it's hard for me to get super invested in this game. I think the players seemed totally invested in it, which is definitely commendable. But as an outside observer, I think maybe this will change over time, but at least on this go around, I couldn't find myself being super interested in this game or its outcome. Is it better than a show match? I think, yeah, that's absolutely fair, because show matches traditionally have been super uninvolved, the players tend not to take it super seriously. It's got the NBA All-Star game effect of how do you get people to care and be involved in a match that has no meaning. So I understand that maybe tournament organizers want to move away from show matches and have something that is actually meaningful to the grander scene. So all of this is to say, at least for how I like to format my recaps, I'm just going to kind of breeze past this. Astralis did win in 3 games after FaZe powered through a miraculous comeback on that first Mirage game. Now that first game on Mirage went through 5 overtimes, nearly 50 rounds. There was a point where PGL brought both the casters a beer because the match had gone on so long. So maybe if things were different and the series played out more normally, I would be more invested in covering it. But dude, Astralis and FaZe played more rounds of Counter-Strike than Falcons and MOUZ did. So it's hard for me to want to give this an in-depth recap when I already have the entire best of 5 still to cover, right? So here's my compromise. We're going to kind of breeze past this to talk about the grand finals, but later this week, I would like to actually take a look back at this series to talk about some structural issues with FaZe. I think it'd be a good time to really sit down and analyze some of the issues with the FaZe roster in specific, but I want to dedicate a full video to that. So that's alright with you guys, that's what we're going to do. Overall, fair play to Astralis. They were definitively better than FaZe in the latter 2 games after losing that overtime effort, and all of this was despite Device having health issues between games, reportedly going to throw up between map 1 and 2, and he came back and he still played wonderfully. I definitely have concerns about Device's health. I hope that he's taking care of himself and that he's doing better now. But man, to be able to recover from your physical health holding you back, to hold it down and play so great throughout the rest of the series is truly commendable. I make a lot of jokes at Astralis' expense, but I would never take a shot at somebody over something like that. Astralis had a legit run here at Cluj despite all of my whinging, and that is truly commendable. Will they be able to do it in a tournament with all the top teams? But you can also say that about a couple of the other teams still kicking out in the event. So we're going to leave it here. Let's go ahead and get into this grand final matchup between MOUZ and the Falcons. So this was an interesting series to watch play out because the first two maps were blowouts both ways, with MOUZ dominating Dust 2 and then Falcons dusting MOUZ back on Mirage. Then we had an insanely close nuke game before ending the series on Ancient, where MOUZ looked dominant to close things out. MOUZ are your winners of PGL Cluj-Napoca 3-1, and I think that's genuinely surprising, because not only were Falcons the favorite, I think a best of 5 favored them even more so than a best of 3 would, because the map pool situation for MOUZ being a brand new team was certainly going to be something that they would have to combat. The interesting part is that both teams permaban Anubis, so this makes the pick ban actually quite weird, because once you get rid of Anubis, the only map that MOUZ doesn't play that Falcons have is Train. So what do you leave on the table? Well, Falcons took the initiative by banning Inferno, a map that the Heroic Core never played, even though Nico is quite great at it. Also a map that this new MOUZ lineup has actually had quite a lot of success on. So that put MOUZ in a weird spot, because they would like to perma Anubis, because it is always their perma ban, but they've never played Train. So this series goes to 5, you might be a fish out of water. At the end, MOUZ chose to take the risk by allowing Train to be the 5th map, and ultimately it didn't seem to affect them. But if this series went to a 5th game, if Ancient didn't go their way, then MOUZ would have had an extreme, almost unwinnable uphill battle to take this series. So if you are MOUZ, you needed this series to end in no more than 4 games. So we get off to a pretty hot start when MOUZ blow the Falcons out on Dust 2. And if you're a MOUZ fan, this is exactly what you wanted to see. This was Xerxin and Torji, your 2 best players, just on takeover mode on the CT side to start off the series. They combined for 14 kills apiece and came away with huge rounds that prevented Falcons from stringing many rounds together whatsoever, to the point that the Falcons never won multiple rounds in a row the entirety of the first half. Now initially things were actually pretty close, going back and forth 1 round apiece all the way until the 4th round. Whether it was Xerxin with great FAMAS play in the 2nd round to steal back the force buy after the pistol loss, or Nico on a hero AK doing Nico things down mid. Things only started to pull away for MOUZ when on round 5, Torji was just turret opping on the A bomb site, Falcons were on a low buy, they had no flashes, mollies, or smoke to try and push him off this position, and Torji was just feeling himself in his first game, so he picks up all 4 kills to break their economy. Dust 2 is essentially the perfect encapsulation of what can go right in a system like this for MOUZ. Because there isn't some adherence to a strict system, because Brolin is calling a very loose style where everyone's involved in calling their own shots, you can take advantage of Dust 2's puggier, loose style and just let the individual shine. Now you're going to live and die by that firepower, so in games where that firepower doesn't show up, MOUZ are going to be struggling to try and make things work, but you can see here, their CT side was just dominant from all aspects, and it felt like it forced the Falcons into a lot of slow actions where they were really hoping to get some intel or find a mistake, but without the shooting being sharp on their side, with very little presence from Dexter, Magisk, or Tesses, they couldn't really find those openings to exploit through mid, through to A, back through into tunnels. They were at the times just having to play for contact and then losing those 1v1s. So, MOUZ start off with a 1-0 lead, things are looking great, and then we move on to one of the worst Mirage T-sides I have ever covered on this channel. The praise for MOUZ is going to stop short for a second, because my god, this was painful to watch. And this is everything that I feel is wrong with this lineup. You have these impossibly high highs because of how deep your firepower is, but good lord, the floor is in hell. Because when you guys can't get those picks, it is clear that Brolin, at least right now, is not capable of making the reads to maneuver his stars into new positions to find impact. Because why in the ever-loving fuck did you guys go mid like 8 rounds in a row? Like, genuinely, why was the strat for almost the entirety of the T side to
let's go fight Nico and Tesses in their home positions on mid, and then sit in the bottom of mid for like a minute and a half every round. Like, it wasn't even good mid control. Like, we've seen it before. We've covered it on the channel. Like, when teams like Na'Vi and Vitality take mid control, they do something proactive with it. But there were just nothing. There was nothing. As soon as they couldn't get like a first pick on Nico or Tesses, they froze. They would just go to these sloppy late pushes through connector, or God forbid that one round where they just dry peek Tesses on Cat with no flashes, no mollies, nothing. Like, you guys had the Molotovs, you guys had the grenades, you had like a smoke, but you refused to deal with Cat, like, routinely. There were only 2 rounds where you guys did like a dedicated bomb site take outside of the pistol round, and one of them was a force buy that worked. And then even after, you finally see that, man, going to a bomb site occasionally is kind of a good idea. Kixan jumps off the top rope with the steel chair by calling one of the just best CT response strats I've seen in quite a while, just pushing all 3 of his star players up mid, right down Brolin's throat. Meanwhile, Kixan, who is the B anchor, plays under balcony. After they spot Magisk in mid, the A anchor, there's no shot that any MOUZ player is going to be over checking for extra A players. It's actually brilliant how red Falcons had them in this game. Like, it is unreal how found out MOUZ were. I also feel like this game deserves a lot of the blame to be on Cyclone, because you got to be advising these guys in the timeouts. But even after some timeouts, you guys were still just relying on this mid default. It was just weirdly one note, even more one note than some of the other T sides that MOUZ have had through this tournament. It just didn't feel the same. It's bizarre because, again, we go on through the rest of the series and MOUZ play really competently. Like on Nuke and Ancient, I thought they played very varied. They played very responsive. It was more creative. I don't understand how this Mirage was so aberrantly terrible. As we move into Nuke, I feel like this is definitely the tipping point for the series. This is traditionally Nico's best map. It's one that he will forever be the best player to ever touch it, with respects to his outside rifle play. And this should have posed a real big problem for MOUZ, but their CT side was just dominant. They kept Nico from getting literally any impact. They held him to just 3 first half kills. 3! He went 3 and 12. He only got like 1 opening kill. Other than that, Nico was playing a little bit scared. He couldn't find any of that aggressive outside control like he normally would. And this really put a huge block in the way of Falcons finding any offensive impact, because without Nico being this large presence to draw the CTs away, this meant there was no room to work around the outside, go around towards ramp, or play for fast inner. It felt like Falcons were in a bind, because with Nico not able to find an impact, how is that set up Tesses or Dexter or Magisk? It really doesn't. And in contrast, this is exactly what you would want with signing Spinks. This is a big game moment with a team that traditionally does not do well in big game moments, and Spinks walks out and drops 26 kills, 14 deaths, and a 1.57 rating. He was absurdly dominant to start this game off, had 19 kills on that opening CT half, many multi-kill side holds, while Xerxan worked around the margins, tried to banty with Nico for that outside control. Now, of course, a 9-3 half on Nuke's T side is not insurmountable. We've seen those come back so many times throughout the years. And when the CT side starts off with Nico getting an ace on the pistol round, you kind of feel like there's something in the air. I mean, we've seen this tale before with Nico having a very bad start on a Nuke T side and then thundering back with just an insane amount of work on the CT side, because that's where he's truly unleashed, being able to lurk around mini and control yard. And it looked like Falcons were poised to make that kind of a comeback. 5 straight rounds to start the half, everyone's starting to hit, Dexter's popping off right next to Nico, but the rounds they lost, more often than not, came down to Nico dying early. Like the first round, MOUZ get on the board, Dexter gets picked, getting overly aggressive at the Squeaky, then Nico dies to Brolin and Mini. Kixan and Magisk do combine to whittle this down to a 1v1 between Tesses and Torji, and if Tesses does win this, that's an incredible swing of momentum because it puts MOUZ onto a save. Yeah, the game gets a lot closer from there, but Torji hits the shot on the lower bomb site.
In the next round, it's Falcons who are on the back foot economically with a bunch of MP9s bought up. MOUZ is close up and hot. He gets the dink on Spinks but fails to get the kill at close range. A super big miss there. Xerxan takes care of Kixan, and now the guns have to be saved into the next round. So that's a huge 2-round swing off of just a couple of 1v1s. It was just some tough swings at the end, and you feel like NiKo is more often than not going to win some of these gunfights, but I guess the storyline for the rest of the series is NiKo fell behind. Like, all the way through Ancient, it's kind of the same story. Like, he just gets punished on a bunch of these opening peaks, where it feels like on any other day, NiKo is game to win those. MOUZ just had his number in a big way, and NiKo is going to be the front man for this Falcons roster every single time. If TeSS, Dexter, and MOUZ are expected to carry them through a game, that's not ideal. You need NiKo to be the superstar player, and he's been the best player in this tournament. Just when it mattered most, these final 2 games of the series, he was not. It was Xerxan who really led the way for MOUZ. And considering how so often when MOUZ have blown up in big playoff stages, it's been Xerxan who's been at the forefront of just disappearing, I think that's really commendable. Because regardless of how I feel about how the Siuhy lineup has turned out, seeing Xerxan play this well through an entire tournament, be able to win a tier 1 trophy, it definitely is a satisfying feeling, and he earned it. His play on the T side here on Ancient was damn near perfect. He was dynamic through mid, blowing up with huge entries, and that left just an open road for his teammates to come behind him. And if nothing else, Spinks with this core of players is just the perfect addition for their CT side, because his anchoring has been as good as Jimmy's throughout this entire event. Now, I do think Falcons had an attempt to make this game really competitive, but blew it out the ass on the second half pistol round. There's no way around it. The fact that they were in a 4v2 on the A bomb site with the bomb down, and they managed to lose this post plant is unforgivable. And the person that needs to be called out the most for this is Dexter, because yeah, you're the lowest player in terms of health, that's fair, but you're also the only player isolated off the site towards A main. With Kixan towards CT and the other 2 players doubled up in Temple, you are the man who cannot, under any circumstance, swing first. The bomb is planted for you. What the fuck are you doing taking the first peek? Because as soon as Dexter dies, that puts Falcons in no good spot to defend the bomb from being defused. Kixan is too far away. The 2 players in Temple can't take that swing without dropping and losing their accuracy. And yes, Torchy hits some blinders. She probably dies as a second player in Temple. I get that, but at the same time, Dexter, you just don't peek. If you don't peek, then they don't have to worry about this. The Temple players could just banty for control and waste time. Why are you the first person peeking? It just put them in such a bad position where they needed to win the force buy in the conversion thereafter, and they get mopped out mid. NiKo gets sprayed down, full flash, coming through the smoke. There's nothing he can do, and then Brolin gets a pick in caves, and the round is almost immediately over. I mean, MOUZ got this to 12-6 in a blink of an eye, it felt like. Spinks was great anchoring towards the B site. And listen, could Falcons have made a miracle comeback? Sure, it was possible. The economy for MOUZ was getting really sketchy towards the end, but you're just working on the razorest of thin margins. And it all comes back to how much that pistol round mattered. If you convert that pistol, this game is so different. So yeah, haters be damned. MOUZ win a big playoff trophy on a stage without Siuhy. Now, what this really means, if you were a true agenda poster, if you want things to work out, if you want the best timeline possible, you have to view this as a positive. Not because it means that MOUZ will get Siuhy back anytime soon, but it means now is the time, G2, send the contract. MOUZ, they're going to look at this and be like, yes, we were validated. We were correct. I don't care that the best teams in the world weren't here. We finally won one. And that means they don't need Siuhy in their eyes. Now's the time. Put Snacks in the cannon, shoot him back to a tier 2 team, and get Siuhy now. It's the perfect opportunity. But no, on a real note, this is a good win for MOUZ. I can't really take that away from them. It's a good result. It means that they are just absolutely confirmed to be in the major. For Falcons, it's a disappointment. You were the favorites in this final, and NiKo was transcended throughout the entire event, except on the last map where it mattered the most. All I know is that Pro League is about to be mighty interesting. So we'll have to get ready for that. Thank you guys so much for watching throughout the PGL Cluj-Napoca coverage. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring this video. If you check the top link in the description, you get a 7% deposit bonus. Next time you fill up, please gamble safely and responsibly. Thank you to our channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, and Justin Vegt. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so with the link in the description down below. For $5 a month, you can support me directly and get a name at the end of the video just like this, as well as a role in our community Discord. Thank you for watching, and follow me on Twitch, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace.